Hello, everyone. Today I'll be talking about several aspects of the psychologist/patient relationship and the boundaries that go into that. So to start, what is the therapy relationship like, and why is it not the same as a friend? So to start, therapy relationship is built on personal boundaries and confidentiality. It's a safe place where you can share your thoughts, your feelings, and without being judged at all. And so the reason why it's not like a friendship relationship is because one, in friendships or friend relationships, there's a lot of feelings involved, a lot of opinions involved, and sometimes even judgment. And having being a psychologist and a patient, having that relationship, there's none of that. They're just there to listen to you vent, get some things off your chest without feeling judged. And the focus is entirely on the patient itself. So, and if I was in that position, my role, again, like I was stating, would be to support and guide, but not to share my personal life experiences, if that makes sense. So, for an example, if I was to provide therapy for a family or a friend or even a business partner, I think that would lead to complications because depending on what they talk about, it could maybe trigger something that happened in the past, or it could maybe lead to being judgmental. And so I think I would struggle trying to remain neutral depending on the situation. So I just think if I was a psychologist and I had a patient, I would prefer it to be someone that I don't know, just so I give them 100% without feeling judged or voice my own opinion, then that'd be wrong. So that's what I would do if I was in that position. Let's see. How would I go in the way of physical contact? So like I said, if I was in that position, I would maintain a no contact policy just to keep our relationship professional and to keep both sides focused. I think it helps create a therapeutic environment where boundaries are clear just from the start. And if a situation arises where like if I see my patient in public, I think a handshake or just a professional gesture seems appropriate. But I would definitely discuss that first at the first meeting, just to you know, get everything out the way. um, and to add to that, I would definitely not just ignore my patient. I would acknowledge them in a friendly way, interact with them, but keep it brief and appropriate. I also think it's important to respect the privacy of both sides and to maintain the confidentiality of our sessions. So that means not speaking about what we talk about in our sessions. Just keep that like in the office. But if I see them outside in public, maybe at a grocery store or a shoe store, nothing should be said about what we talk about through our sessions. And I know me personally, I would not engage in any discussion about therapy outside of our scheduled sessions. How would I go about receiving gifts? I would not receive gifts because I feel like a patient would feel that they have one up on my other patients because I receive gifts. So I typically would not receive gifts. I just think I was maintaining a personal boundary, ensure that we still focus on the task at hand, focus on why you're here. And, okay. So, for example, if my patient wants to give me a gift because, they feel reassured or they think the sessions are helping, I would definitely discuss that depending on what it is. I don't want to feel like they have one up on another patient because I'm receiving gifts. I don't know, I would definitely discuss that with them first. My policy regarding social media, whether that's Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, or any social media platforms, and my policy on that would be I would not connect with any of my patients on social media. I just feel like that should protect the privacy and maintain the professional nature of our relationship. And also, I think it would help avoid any potential conflicts or misunderstandings that might come up from being connected online, because I'm sure there's plenty of scenarios where um, the both psychologists and the patient have connected on social media, and then maybe that could bring conflict. I just want to avoid that. I just want to nip that in the bud, stay away from that. So that's how I would go about that. Um, and just to circle back on the friends and family topic, if it's very serious and one of my friends or my family members do need to seek therapy, I think I would. It's iffy with me, Like I was saying, some things should be dealt with a stranger, but some things, if it's really serious, then I would help them seek therapy. But there would definitely be some guidelines. Um, I think it would be best for them to have their own psychologist, somebody that's not me, just so feelings aren't involved whatsoever. And I think if they have a different psychologist, it would open up their idea, as therapy works best when the person is willing and ready to engage in the process. So, for example, if my brother, you know, um, really needs therapy, and something happened between me and him, and for let's say my mom wants me to, talk to him as a psychologist, I feel like that wouldn't be the best idea, because what he's talking about is between me and him, and I feel it'll be too many feelings involved, and it'll be hard not to say what I want to say, even though I know that's how like the therapeutic relationship is supposed to work. I just feel like having a different psychologist or somebody that they don't know, it'll be easier to open up about them. But if it really does come down to it and they do need somebody to talk to, I would definitely step up and take on that role of, but still keeping it professional, but still having that patient to psychologist relationship. So yeah, that's how I would go as a psychologist, and how I would like my clients to respect that relationship that I would have with them. So yeah, thank you for listening.